Muhammad, Daren, Muhammad, Muha, Mmad. Spell it right, get it right, and you'll have us locked in your sight. We live in person and in living color. And with that, let me start the show off as I always do each and every Wednesday, that we're honored to be on these airways, by dedicating the show to my brother and friend, Brother Eric Easton, to all of those who made it through the week in the city and the state and this country and on the planet, and to those who stopped on this day, which is, of course, the Holy Day of Atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility for those men and some sisters that were there in attendance to the greatest gathering, the greatest, I think, peaceful event, assembly of men, 1 million, 2 million, on October 16th, 1995. We say to you, long live the spirit of the Million Man March. And if we could just seize the spirit, that energy, the love that was exemplified on that day and continue. But for those who had to come back to the city to organize, did a wonderful job in organizing, but we got to wash, rinse, and repeat. And there's still much more work to be done 24 hours later. My radio show became as a result of the Million Man March in 1995, coming back to Baltimore, or I was in Delaware then, and then from Delaware back home to Baltimore. So we congratulate those that stopped on this day, always keeping it a day that's going to be always near to us, dear to us, clear to us, and those that were sincere on that day, making that sacrifice to leave your comfort zone and leaving our families, but representing our families, and headed down to Washington, D.C. Of course, D.C. was shut down on that day, which was a Monday, so they knew we was coming for business. It wasn't for no play, but it was clearly for business, and it was not on a Saturday, not on a Sunday, and that is a sign to any of us who are out here that's really organizing and fighting, of course, against the system of racism and white supremacy and all the other isms, asms, scasms, and spasms. If any of your leaders and those who are activists are talking about shutting down the city or shutting down the state or shutting down the nation, and they're talking about addressing and redressing the conditions, of course, in terms of our plight, our fight, and our conditions as a people, and they're not having a demonstration on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they talk about a Saturday and a Sunday, then you know they jiving, because it's already shut down on Saturday, already shut down on a Sunday. So if they're serious, they're going to interrupt some commerce and not talk about having a demonstration on a Saturday or Sunday. If they're talking about demonstrating on a Saturday or Sunday, then you better check who's paying for it. Better check who's funding it. As the old saying goes, romance without finance is nonsense. Somebody may be romancing them, and they prancing around here trying to represent or misrepresent to the masses that they're really leading you somewhere. So again, we'll have to eventually, I think, talk about the Million Man March, talk about, of course, the success of the Million Man March, but then talk about how to take it to the next level. Otherwise, what we've seen, unfortunately, is those who have hijacked the Million Man March in the local cities, in the regions, and around the country. So it has ceased being, of course, not in terms of what took place on that day, but again, the failure to come back home and organize on a local organizing level to address what's happening in our cities, what's happening in the states, what's happening in the regions, what's happening in the country. And I mean really addressing it, all right? Not giving lip service to it, but really addressing it. Let me also take this opportunity on a day that will live in infamy in Baltimore City, that this day also is a day that is deeply etched into the hearts and the minds of the masses of our people, because it was on October the 16th, 2002, that a little known family was touched by a tragedy, a firebombing that took place, and it was 6 to 7 individuals that died, the entire Dawson family. Angela Dawson, her husband Carnell Dawson, who would die a week later in the hospital from his injuries and from his burns. Her daughter, I think, LaJuan. She had a son, Juan. She had 2 twins, Keith and Kevin. And I believe there may be one more that I may be missing. But if you don't know their names and it happened right here in the city, then you owe it to yourselves to go and Google the Dawson family tragedy, to read and to tell their story, but also ask the city of Baltimore. It happened, of course, at the corners of Preston and Eden Street, and ask this in the Oliver community, and ask the mayor, who at that time was a city councilman representing that district, along with 2 other individuals. That time you had 19 members on the city council. But I had just came back to Baltimore, and I'll talk about that before I get into what I want to get into. But I am going to talk about the Dawson family, because we'll have to ask what happened in that Oliver community as they promised. As I remember going to a rally, which they had all the big politicians up on the stage, and they were there, most of the black ones, kissing Martin O'Malley, who was the mayor at that time, kissing his ring. Your Congressman Elijah Cummings was there. Many of your ministers or senators was there. I remember Senator Nathaniel McFadden was there, and all of them were saying, never again would this happen in the city of Baltimore. This community will not look like that. And 19 years later, or 17 years later, since it was 2002, it looks worse in that Oliver community. The only thing that was built is the Dawson family safe haven home. And I'll talk about why the city bought that from the Jewish man who owned the liquor store across the street. He owned the house, even though the house should have been condemned when they had the first firebombing that took place 2 weeks earlier on October the 3rd, and the family wasn't moved out of the house, even though they should have looked at the home and then looked at the fact that there was not a fire escape and said, we can't have this family in the home because the back door had already been burnt. So therefore, if there was another fire, the only way out would have been the front door. And so the back door had already been burned. It was already boarded up. So there was no way for them to get out of the back door. So the city leadership failed them. City Housing Authority, Reggie Scriber, and those who were heading up their housing authority at that time, Paul Graziano, they failed the Dawson family. And of course, it was afterwards that the family who said that, let me get all the particulars out of the way. Then I'm going to get into that before I get into anything else. All right. You tune to the State of the City and here on Radio on Fire. Of course, the phone number to get in on the conversation, 404-436-1277. Got to thank, of course, the owner, Brother D. Williams, and, of course, his able and capable assistant, Sister Nikki, for just opening up these airways to us. So please support Radio on Fire. Their cash app is $Radio on Fire. Also, to support the State of the City, my cash app is $SOTC Muhammad, MUHA MMAD. So that's how you can support us. But I got a lot I'm going to get into tonight. I'm going to start because this is October the 16th, okay? But the Million Man March happened October 16th, 1995. Then 7 years later, this tragedy occurs in Baltimore City. So it becomes a callous on the soul of those who attended the Million Man March because, again, given instructions to go back, right, to make our communities safe, right? So you had one of the organizers, local organizers and conveners of the Million Man March, Sister Eartha Harris. She lived right next door to the Dawson family. So how could this tragedy be brewing in terms of the Dawson family who, again, I posted an article from the Washington Post that's on my page, and I think you should read that article for those of you that are able to go to Facebook and read that article. But nevertheless, the family was told, as others were at the time, Mayor Martin O'Malley and his Believe campaign. His Believe campaign, which was financed by M&T Bank, which was one of the banks that was trying to get into Baltimore from New York at the time. Atwood Collins, the president of M&T Bank. So they bankrolled Martin O'Malley's Believe campaign. And in the component to the Believe campaign, he grabbed two ministers. One from West Baltimore, Frank Madison Reed III, or whatever that name is. How do I know? Because at that time, I'm just coming back to Baltimore. One of the brothers in the Nation of Islam, because we were going down there doing training to the men down there, Bethel, and one of our brothers, Brother Al Muhammad, became the driver, the personal driver for Frank Madison Reed. So he told me much about the many meetings Frank Reed was having with Martin O'Malley. Okay, there's a lot more I could tell you about what he told me about Frank Madison Reed. Okay, but now there was Frank Reed on the west side. Then he chose Harley Wilson, who act like he hardly know you, over there at Israel Baptist Church to be his East Baltimore pimp, all right, or prostitute, or hoe, because he was turning them out like cheap tricks in terms of what Martin O'Malley was doing. So now the Dawson family is living on that corridor at Preston and Eden Street. Eartha Harris lives right next door to them. So I just found it hard to believe that if Miss Angela Dawson was having all these problems, Eartha Harris has access to all of these brothers who were organizers of the Million Man March. Minister Carlos Muhammad, Reverend John Wright, Brother Atiba, others who were here, and she could have said, we got an issue that we need to be able to sit down with this family and families on this corridor here, because they had already been firebombed on October the 3rd. Okay? So now the city don't move them out of the home. They don't come and investigate. The fire marshal came and investigated. They put out the fire. Nobody was arrested for that first fire. So Angela Dawson, they said the Dawson family had called the Baltimore City Police Department after registering for that fake Believe program, which was the Deceive program. Then they called 36 times over that year, they said, right? She said she was attacked a couple of times, right? By a man by the name of, I think his name was John, I want to say John Henry was his name. Then there was the incident, ultimately, that occurred on October the 16th. Now, when you read this article that's in the Washington Post from that year, they talk about Cornell Dawson. They talk a little about the suspect who was arrested and eventually charged, Darrell Brooks, who had worked for somebody in City Hall. Now, they didn't identify who he worked for. Was it Jack Young? Was it, they said he had worked with Robert Stokes, who now Robert Stokes is a councilman down there. But they said that Darrell Brooks, who was arrested. I talked to a brother who eventually later on was arrested and was in the same cell with Darrell Brooks, who told me that Brooks told him that he got high that night, was high off some E-pills, and somebody paid him some money to carry out that deed against the Dawson family. Now, I talked to a sister. We did a people's investigation, which I went down into the community. Talked to a sister who had worked there. Her name's mentioned in the article. Her name was Sweetie. She lived across the street from the Dawson family. She told me, right, that she was the one who took Darrell Brooks to the gas station to get the gas that they put in the glass jars that he threw in the home. And the Dawson family couldn't get out of the home. Yet she was never arrested. Now, when I read this article and talked to brothers in the street, they said that Darrell Brooks, he was a model young man at that time, but then he got several arrests, but he kept being released from prison, released from jail, putting on a stat docket. Now, let's be clear. When you see individuals being arrested and they're being put on a stat docket, then what you got to begin to ask is, was Darrell Brooks turned, meaning he was a criminal informant working for police or working for the state's attorney's office? The question was, who was Darrell Brooks working for that he had this rap sheet, but he never did no significant time in jail? Then in this article in the Washington Post, they even mentioned that Angela Dawson's husband, Cornell Dawson, had been arrested for possession, right, of buying some crack cocaine as well. Okay, that's in the article. But yet, he too had his information put on the stat docket. So this is why what the brothers were saying in the Stop Snitching DVD is so real. That you got so many people in Baltimore City that when they turn them into snitches or informants. So if Cornell Dawson is arrested, right, charged, doesn't serve a day in jail, then you got to ask, was Cornell Dawson eventually turned by elements in the Baltimore City Police Department? See, you can't fathom the wickedness of Satan, that they're always looking to grab young brothers and men in Baltimore City and turn them into their snitches, or pardon my language, their mitches or their bitches for them. And their family don't even know. Freddie Gray, a month before he was supposedly not killed, but a month before he was arrested, and we saw that arrest, then a week later he died from his injuries. But a month before that, Freddie Gray went to court and was looking at 9 years in jail and only got 1,000 hours of community service. Now, you know they don't have a problem locking up a lot of niggas in this city and in this state and in this country. So how does he go to jail, or how does he go to court looking at 9 years, and he only comes out with 1,000 hours of community service? You got to have some deductive reasoning to be able to say, that means they flipped Freddie Gray. That means Freddie Gray was working for somebody. And this is the problem in the state's attorney's office and the police department, then the state's attorney's office. That you have so many criminal informants, so many snitches, so many rats, that you don't know who's who in Baltimore City, man. This is what's happening. Once they ensnare you, once they get you. So now the Dawson family tragedy occurs. Family can't get out the house. Angela Dawson is heard saying, "Help me." She dies. Her children died. The husband jumped out of the window. Let me make sure I give you their names, because this is a day that would always live in infamy in Baltimore City. It's a callous on the soul of those in Baltimore City. Black, brown, red, yellow, and white. Because Martin O'Malley had the blood of the Dawson family on his hands. The commissioner at that time, Ed Norris, had the blood of the Dawson family on his hands, because while all this was going on, this is with The Wire being put out there, Homicide on the Street being promoted, Oz being promoted, The Corner being promoted, and many of your politicians, I'm talking about the black women now, they were the ones that was going on these trips with Ed Norris and Martin O'Malley up to New York. The Sheila Dixons, the Kathy Pughs, the Stephanie Rollins. Remember at that time, Tom DiBaggio, who was the assistant, who was the U.S. attorney, had came down and was talking about how they was going to have these high-profile cases of city council members and the mayor, Martin O'Malley. And after, when the dust settled, the one that they got in the net was Ed Norris. And Norris went to jail. Now, some of y'all want to act like y'all got amnesia. But a lot of these black women had a thing for Ed Norris, man. And still got a thing for Ed Norris. I talked to people in Annapolis. I remember before Corrigan Vaughn died, he was saying he was down in Annapolis during the General Assembly session. He come out the hotel room one night. Here come Ed Norris coming out of Kathy Pugh's room, man. And everybody know it. Y'all just trying like these tricks have become treats. And as I always say, you can't make a trick a treat. If you did, that'd be a revolutionary trick or a treat, however you want to look at it. But everybody know these women have been like that, man. Sheila Dixon. And it was Sheila Dixon, when she became mayor after Martin O'Malley became the governor, the last surviving daughter of Angela Dawson, her name was Lakeisha. She became homeless. The city promised they was going to take care of her. Didn't take care of her. I know it because I talked to Cornell Dawson's sister. I went to meet with her. Her name is, I think it was Yvette Carnell, or McNack was her last name, McNack. But I went and met with her. She lived in Glen Burnie off Oakwood Road, off of 100. I went with Sister Chanel Muhammad at the time, who was the protocol person inside the Nation of Islam. And she told me about the Dawson family. Her brother was Carnell. He moved here from Oklahoma. That's in the article in the Washington Post. That's how he met Angela Dawson. They were all living in Severn. Then they eventually moved to Baltimore City. So she told me that they had consulted the Cochran firm, and the Cochran firm was going to sue the city of Baltimore. Now, here's a family of, make sure I give you how many that died. You had Angela Dawson, Carnell Dawson. The other one I forgot was Carnell Jr. Then there was LaWanda Ortiz. There was Juan Ortiz. There was Kevin and Keith, who were the 9-year-old twins. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 6 died that night. Carnell died. Carnell Sr. died a week later. He jumped out the window. 90% of his body was burned. Okay? But yet, the family is able to hire, or the daughter who was surviving, was able to have the services of the Cochran firm. Sheila Dixon, as the mayor, said the city was not culpable for what happened to the Dawson family. Even though Sheila Dixon, as a city council president, signed on to Martin O'Malley's Believe program. Even though Sheila Dixon was in love with Martin O'Malley, along with Stephanie Rollins Blake, or Fake. So much so that when Martin O'Malley married Katie Karen, who is the daughter of that old brokeback gay William Kern III. If you don't know the history of the Kern family, get the book, Jewish Baltimore. They're in there. Them thugs are in there. Part of the Irish Catholic Jesuit Mafia, if you didn't know about that. Okay? So now, Katie Karen, Martin O'Malley marries her because he wants to move up in the political circles in Baltimore. So he's from Montgomery County. So he comes in and says, how does he get in to Baltimore? He got to marry into one of the families. This is how they do it. I'm going to tell you in a few minutes how they now have gone and grabbed the daughter of the late councilman Ken Harris. After they killed him, they grabbed his son, paid for his son to finish up college. Now they got his daughter, who now they're going to run his daughter for the former seat of her father, Ken Harris Sr. They done already paid and say she got a law degree. That girl don't even know how to spell law, man. I'm just being honest with you, all right? But they going to run her. She already working in the state's attorney's office, making like $140,000. Nicole Harris Crest or something like that. And she hadn't spoken to her grandmother since they killed their father. Her mother forbid her to speak to her grandmother. I ain't telling you nothing that her grandmother, Miss Sylvia Harris, wouldn't tell you herself. Neither has Ken Harris Jr. But now they done popped her up and they gonna run her for her father's seat. You gonna see it, cause Bill Henry, that old softy, he said he's gonna run against Joan Pratt for comptroller. So his seat will be open and Martin O'Malley will control that 4th district council district, which is up in that same corridor. That's how that mob operates. Okay, so she will be married to the mob. No doubt her treasurer will be Martin Cadigan, the same treasurer for Jack Young, same treasurer for Marilyn Mosby, the same treasurer and longtime bagman for Martin Teflon Don Leprechaun O'Malley. Okay, so don't say you didn't hear it when you see her popped up and cropped up, and you'll see that old pussy PM Smith out there. That's what I know PM stand for now. Pussy man. I know what it stand for. All right? Not the pusher man. Oh, pussy man. PM Smith. Okay? You can tell him I said it. So now, Sheila Dixon, Stephanie Rawlins, who was in love with Martin O'Malley, she said she was going to commit suicide when she found out Martin O'Malley was marrying Katie Karen. Because she thought O'Malley was going to marry her. Yeah, right. Okay. They been turned that trick out a long time ago. Okay? When she was at the University of Baltimore. Her father was Pete Rawlins, okay? So now, Sheila Dixon was attacking anybody who threatened Martin O'Malley politically. I was there in City Hall when she would threaten State's Attorney Patricia Jessamine. When she would go after Delegate Jill Carter. She would go after Belinda Conaway. Anybody who she thought threatened Martin O'Malley politically. This is straight out of what Carter G. Woodson said, man. Miseducation of the Negro. They were attack dogs for Martin O'Malley. So now when the Dawson family lone surviving daughter, Lakeisha Carnell, I think was her last name, Dawson. So she sued, and again, the city fought against her. Her last name was Lakeisha, I think it was Boswell was her last name. And she was homeless. But again, this is a stain on the city, man, in terms of the Dawson family. And then when you go and read this article that's in the Washington Post, they talk about that whole Oliver community, man. That the city said they was going to develop the community. They don't even have a grocery store up there no more, man. The Stop, Shop, and Save is closed. Go up there and see what that Oliver... The only thing they put up there was... did they get a new March funeral home? I don't think they got that up there, man. Did they get a new March funeral home? That's not Oliver over there where they had that... What was that spot called? Apples and Oranges? In the shopping center over there across from the Blacks and Wax. But that's not even the Oliver community right there. North and Broadway. That's not the Oliver community right there. So nothing's up there in that corridor, man. What they got? A DeVita Center? Maybe they put that up there? They don't have nothing in that community up there, man. So the city failed them miserably. And they bought the house, which was the Dawson home, but they didn't own it. They was renting it from the Jewish man that... What was his name? Kaufman, Schloffman? It'll come to me. But he owned a liquor store across the street. That liquor store's still there. I do go over there and see it. The liquor store's still up there. So they failed the Dawson family and then failed to do right by the lone survivor. Notice they don't have nothing in the city named after the Dawson family, man. Not a scholarship. I mean, nothing. So they've wiped them out of the history in terms of that entire family. And they said that home, or where the home used to be, is a safe haven. And I think one of the ladies that used to be a city councilwoman, I think her name was Pamela Carter. I think at some point she was running it. I don't know who's running it now. But again, they failed to even want people to really know what happened to the Dawson family. And again, the young man, Darrell Brooks, I believe he was given life in prison, if not several life sentences in prison. But again, that has to be continued to be talked about and investigated. And as I said, at the same time, looking at those who were so close right next to them in terms of Sister Eartha Harris, one of the coordinators of the Million Man March. They could have brought the brothers together to say, we need to mediate this immediately before it escalates. And it didn't happen. So now every October 16th, I don't think I hear anybody even talking about the Dawson family. If I ain't talking about them tonight, some of y'all wouldn't even hear about it. Some of y'all don't even know who the Dawson family is. So I pray that at least giving you a little inclination to want to Google the story and find out what happened to this beautiful mother. And I remember Dick Gregory telling me he came over for the funeral. and to pull up and to see six hearse and then see 6 caskets inside of that. That was, he said he had to sit down and couldn't get back up. He was with brother Reggie Turan at the time. But to see that, and that happened in this city. And then you would have those, again, as I said before, to tell you to believe in the Believe campaign. And then that's when they used the Dawson family tragedy to implement zero tolerance, to lock up everything black, right? That was moving in the city for the most part, for the most minuscule reasons. They implemented a quota system inside the police department, and it created this permanent underclass that we have in Baltimore now in 2019. Brothers was given records for no reason because police officers had to make arrests. You came out the store, you greeting somebody, they say you was loitering, they lock you up. You sitting on your stoops, you drinking your beer, you got it in a brown bag, they locking you up. You college student, you see somebody you come back to the hood, or you outside the barbershop. I remember they locked up Dr. Powers' barber, man. He's standing outside his barbershop greeting somebody. They just lock him up. They come through doing sweeps, you could be getting off the bus. They doing a sweep, you get off the bus, they was locking you up. I remember helping many people that came to me. There was a sister who was a bus driver. Her name was Gloria. Her last name escapes me. She was driving the number 8 bus. And the police had a pregnant woman up against the car on Greenmount and 25th Street. And she asked the police, could he move the vehicle? Because she had a bus full of people that needed to get to work. And he told her, pull that bus over, bitch, you going to jail. Locked her up, man. She couldn't even get help from her bishop, who was Bishop Johnson at that big church up there on St. Clair Lane. And she went to jail, bus driver, and was getting ready to lose her job and everything. And who she come to? Brother Muhammad. Rick Height went to that church, she told me. Said, Rick, she wish she couldn't get no help from what they call him, Lieutenant Rick Height. I call him Can't Get Right Rick Height, okay? So, but they were locking people up, man. 100,000 people a year because they had quotas. And it was the late Ken Harris that came to me and gave me the quota sheet, man, in terms of how these officers had to meet certain quotas. And they lock you up, car stops, you name it, guns, you name it. Whether you had a gun, they were planting guns on people back then, man. Then they take something to the station, they flip them and turn them to their snitches, man. This is what was going on. And some of them, they said, well, we taking you downtown, you go to central booking. State's attorney Jessamy threw many of them out. But if you wanted to sue, you had to sign an expungement to say you wasn't going to sue the city if you wanted to get out, man. They was down there taking people DNA without their permission and everything. They was doing all kind of, it led to the death of one man, Mr. Raymond Smoot, when you had 8 correctional officers stomped him to death down there, man. Y'all know, y'all remember? Or maybe you don't remember. When we was out there at 100-degree temperature, bro, Eric Easton, many of us demonstrating with the Smoot family about the death of Smoot. And others who died in central booking because they was packing brothers in, right? Cells that was only holding 6 or 8, but they got 24, 40 in a cell, man. And this is what was going on. So again, you tune to the state of the city. So we can never forget the Dawson family, man, in terms of what happened. As I talk about that, as I said before, there's so much that's been going on in the city of Baltimore. So I want to move quickly and talk about, of course, some of the latest news of what's been going on in the city, because you have those that's been hell-bent on pushing this whole issue about crime in the city of Baltimore, not with no facts and no real acts, with all of the cameras in the city, all the closed-circuit cameras in the city, man. But they're going to tell you there was 16 or 17 shootings, and you would say, man, the funeral home's going to be real busy. You would see funerals every day in the city of Baltimore, right? You would see the coroner vehicles every day. But yet they're telling you these stories because they want to set you up for something else that they want to push on the community now. And that's something else, of course, that they've been pushing for the last few years. And a few of us activists, such as myself, the 4Ds, Brother Donald Smith, Brother David Johnson, Brother David Anthony Wiggins, have been fighting, just exposing it, man, on our own time. Not on the times of the community, but using this venue that we have here and other venues on my radio show at WFBR. Brother David over at WOLB, man. Just beating down the beast so much so. Beating down the beast and the little pawns and the minions that they keep sending out here. Like they really know what's really going on and they really don't know a damn thing. They don't know the depths of what they're trying to invite on our people. And they first bought this program called Persistent Surveillance Solution, which is out of Akron, Ohio, or Dayton, Ohio. White man, U.S. military intelligence, Ross McNutt, right? It was financed by John and Laura Arnold, who started a foundation after siphoning off money from their Enron loot that they stole from Enron. So now they set up a private equity firm called, I think it's called Third Capital or some Capital Third, don't worry, I'll get it, don't worry, okay? So now they got this plan to bankroll Ross McNutt flying a plane. So they backdoor the money to the police department through the Baltimore Community Foundation, through into, I think his name was Lieutenant Hood, who was running their Homeland Security component to the Baltimore City Police Department. So now all this is illegal. So according to Maryland law, Maryland is what they call a two-party consent law. You cannot record me based on the law on wiretap and electronic surveillance. You can't record me without my permission. So therefore, I can't fly my drone over your house and record what's going on over your house. I can't fly my drone over City Hall. I can't fly my drone over Annapolis State House. I damn sure can't fly my drone over the White House. They shoot it down. But yet, Laura and John Arnold knowingly gave money to Ross McNutt, who then gave it to the Baltimore Community Foundation, who then gave it to the Baltimore City Police Department. So all of this is illegal. Yet you don't hear the ACLU, which is primarily Jews. They got a few Indians on there. I think this new boy that they want to run for mayor, thick new, what's his name, the Varaja, the chocolate cover, a thick dude, the chocolate covered Britain for the most part, man. You understand? That don't have no skin in the game when it comes to issues in Baltimore City. There's no issue of him taking up any pro bono cases, man, for black men. And for he's a good attorney?
I say he is an attorney.
Oh, he is an attorney, but there's no history of him taking up no pro bono cases for all these brothers that's been illegally arrested from the Gun Trace Task Force and other crimes in the city of Baltimore. You know what I mean? So now they're propping these individuals up is what they're doing. So all of this, the ACLU, what you say his name is? Thignu Varaja? Tharu or Thignu, yeah, him and his sister who ran for governor, right? So now you can't make a wrong a right by saying that the Greater Baltimore Committee is recommending this along with their paid slaves like Alvin Hathaway, Todd Yeary, who are ministers or senators, right? Because they sit on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. And I'll give you a list of the Greater Baltimore Committee, which I posted that on my Facebook page. They sit on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. So you would think the Sun paper would say, well, Alvin Hathaway, who the late, great Vernon Dawson told me years ago. I met with Vernon Dawson. He asked me to come meet with him. I met him and had many conversations with him at Brother Lenny Clay's barbershop. And I did the last interview publicly with the members of the Goon Squad, the historic Goon Squad, which were the black ministers and civil rights advocates in the 50s and the 60s in Baltimore. And they used to have the Black United Front meetings at Union Baptist Church. Well, my two youngest daughters attended Reverend Vernon Dawson Union Baptist Head Start Center, which is there, Drudo and Dolphin Street. Reverend Dawson asked me to come and see him. And when I went to see him, I met with him and his lawyer. He had a men's house right there next to the church on Drudo Avenue. In fact, I met Brother David Anthony Wiggins, who was staying there at the time when I met him. Reverend Dobson told me about a group of, he just said it was a bunch of, I'm going to tell you how the way he said it. A bunch of fags and drags that have come into his church and taken over his church. He told me Hathaway was one, Dolores Kelly was another, and he said they joined the church and set up the committee, and now they were trying to take his church from him, is what Reverend Dobson told me. He was sick, but he was well mentally and knew what was going on with his church. And there was a fight. In fact, there was a big fight 2 years ago, I think, in which the late Judge Howard's son, because Reverend Dobson had enough wherewithal to make the daycare center and the cafe separate from the church. So Hathaway and Dolores Kelly and them were trying to take the daycare center and shut it down, and then take the cafe and shut it down. And so they had a fight in court like 2 years ago. And I ran into Judge Howard's son, at Lenny Clay's barbershop, and he told me they won the court case to keep the daycare center open, or the Head Start Center open, and to keep the cafe operating. I remember when I came back to Baltimore, R.B. Jones and Lawrence Bell were having a dinner on behalf of, I think it was on behalf of Belinda Conaway, if not R.B. Jones, at that cafe. So it was a place where many of our people would come and meet and greet up and get the latest news of what was happening in the city at the cafe that was there next to Union Baptist. Y'all know what I'm talking about. See, I know the history of what's been going on in the city. But Reverend Dawson entrusted that information in me. And I did the last public interview with the Goon Squad on the State of the City radio show on WOLB when I was on the airways of Radio 1. I still have that CD, but it was myself, Reverend Dobson, Reverend Bascom, Dr. Homer Favor, and I think Judge Kenneth LaVon Johnson. He called in from Mississippi. So those were 4 of the instrumental members of the historic Goon Squad. And one day I'll play that on the show so that you can hear that for yourself, okay? It was a hot day outside, but it was right before, I think it was after the funeral of Congressman Perrin J. Mitchell, or right before the funeral of Perrin J. Mitchell, that we actually had them come to the station. And they all blessed me with their presence in the studio. So you tune to the State of the City. So now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, this whole spy or lie in the sky, they illegally put it up in the sky, which means that it is a felony that's punishable by 5 years in jail or a $10,000 fine. Yet I've not heard anyone call for the arrest of Ross McNutt, the arrest of John and Laura Arnold, the arrest of the members of the Baltimore Community Foundation that used the Baltimore Community Foundation as a pass-through conduit, right? Slush fund for this dirty deeds. I've yet to hear anyone call for the arrest of Baltimore Police Lieutenant Hood, I think was his name. Hood was in the hood up to no good for the most part. But all of them are supposed to be arrested, man, for no more than aerial voyeurism is what you want to call it. Aerial voyeurism. Sneak, what do you call them? Peeking Toms, man. Peeking McNuts, all right? Peeking McNuts. They were aerial voyeurism is what they was carrying out, man. So as I said before, voyeurism wrong in the suites is wrong in the streets. If I can't upskirt your wife or upskirt, and I definitely don't want to be upskirting Ricky Spector. Oh, yeah. And here she is as a Jew, right? A Zionist Jew, Ricky Spector, behind the scenes using black women, as I saw Sister Victory Swift. I think that's her name, Victory Swift. And I knew Victory from, again, the mosque. Brother Lyle and Brother Al was teaching. Both her sons used to go to the schools of original thought. And so I watched her son grow up, both of them. So to see Victory Swift allowing herself to be used this way is very sad. To allow herself to be used by some Jews like Ricky Spector, man. That when those, you remember when those little Mexicans were beheaded up in Park Heights? You see Ricky Spector talking about we need a plane to find out who killed those children. You remember them little Mexicans was killed? And they was living in the Samantha apartments, man. Because their mother and father was bought here illegally, and they was working. The father worked for a construction company. The mother worked for somebody on a hot dog stand. And apparently whoever bought them into the country, they didn't pay their bills to the coyotes. And so as a punishment, they killed all 3 of them children. But you didn't see Ricky Spector out there talking about brown on brown violence. You know how many Jews get killed up there in Upper Park Heights? You don't hear Ricky Spector talking about Jew on Jew violence. But all of a sudden, she want to talk about black on black violence and use these mothers who have lost loved ones. Now, Victory Swift's son, his name was Victorious. The young brother became a boxer. He's outside at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and gets in a fight with the young brother. Now, he knows boxing. The young brother he was fighting don't know no boxing. He beat that young brother, they tell me, to a pulp. Now, when you win the fight, it's time to go home. You don't stay out there after you beat somebody up, man. Not the way the streets are now. He stayed out in the street, and the young brother came back and shot him, okay? So he made a serious mistake. So it didn't do no good for him to learn all that discipline that he learned in Umar boxing, not to carry that discipline out on the streets, man. That's the bottom line. So I felt her pain when I heard the young brother lost his life. But at the same time, don't let Ricky Spector exploit your pain and start getting on TV talking about if not now, then when? What do you mean? You know what I mean? Other mothers have lost loved ones. They ain't running around here talking about they need the sky in a plot. You ain't been to no other mother's vigil. You ain't been to no other mother's son's funeral. No other mother daughter's funeral. But all of a sudden, because your son dies, now you're going to let Ricky Spector use you and exploit your pain for their political gain? I would say shame on you. I'm not saying you in particular, but any mother that would allow yourself to be used by them because of that. Because they wouldn't let you use their pain to push some agenda. Now, this is the same Ricky Spector who said that no decent person would listen to Minister Farrakhan. You remember that? I was there when Ricky Spector said that you need to get rid of the Nation of Islam in the work we was doing down in Murphy Homes and Flag House and Lexington Terrace. It was Ricky Spector that was leading the charge. Unless you got Negro-nesia, unless you got selective Negro-nesia, it was Ricky Spector that was leading the charge. They told him to take the contracts away from NOI and give them contract to Wells Fargo and Wackenhut. That was Ricky Spector. Let the record be clear. Now you hugging Ricky Spector? Talking to you black mothers, man. And all them brothers done lost their lives since NOI security was taken away and moved, where they was doing a hell of a job. No loss of life. Crime was down so low that you was affecting everybody's bottom line down there. Parole and probation, police, you understand? So they had to get us up out of there because we was affecting the bottom line. They wasn't making no killings off our people as they were. So here come Ricky Spector, who said you need to get rid of them NOI members, and that's what they did. Okay? So don't let Ricky Spector use you is what I'm saying. And don't let the Sun paper confuse you, making you think that they're against the spy in the sky, and all they was doing by running this op-ed was to get the information out there. But again, you can't make a wrong a right. You can't make a vice a virtue now. By saying now, Ross McNutt, who tried to bring it in through the back door, he got caught. Then when he got caught, he said, no. What we want to do is use this to mete out police corruption. Then, see, the story and the script started changing. And so we were beating them down so much so. Brother David on his show. Brother Donald using social media. Brother David Anthony Wiggins. Beating them down so much so that the white man had to send out his pawns, right? Paying dum-dums like Larry, call himself a celebrity cab driver. He can't even spell celebrity. You know what I mean? But that's what they do. He tell his whole story on Facebook. I'm homeless, y'all. My wife go cuckoo. My daughter, I can't find my... Man, please, these people should be in some type of... Y'all know what I'm saying. But this is what happens when you give a child a microphone, okay? This is what happens. They need to put a sign out on them microphones over there, Radio 1. Keep out of reach of children, okay? And don't give them to them if they are dangerously impaired, okay? And y'all know what I mean by impaired, okay? All right? But this is what Ross McNutt has done, is put money into the hands of Howard Mesa, another Zionist Jew, and say, we're going to pay for Larry. Larry Celebrity Cab Driver couldn't get sponsors for his show. He'd go on Facebook and be with good brother James MacArthur, Jimmy the Bodyguard, and be crying. I can't get no sponsors. What am I supposed to do? He didn't even speak that clear. I can't get no sponsors. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do now? This man McNutt, what's his name? McRoss. I mean, he gonna pay for the show, y'all. Come on now. What I supposed to do? That's what he would say. Okay. So McNutt went and got him some nutty buddies, some zig nuts, some squirrel nuts, and a whole bunch of other kind of nuts. Started giving money to Christine Flowers. Started giving money to some guy called himself Archie Williams, man. Sitting home collecting SSI checks. You know what I mean? He said, I guess I could put this with my SSI money. You know what I mean? Right? So this is what they've done now. But because Brother David has beat them up so much so, now all of them have made the white man himself come out, man. And he collecting this data, and nobody asking, where's all that data being stored, man? That's the bottom line. And they would tell you got to give up your rights and your security, right, in order to reduce violence in the city. Now, these are the same people that said that when Sheila Dixon was the mayor and Frederick Billfield was the police chief, that they dropped homicides under 300. Well, ask Billfield, how did he do that? Ask Sheila Dixon, if you play that straight. Now, I know they was taking files home. That's how they did it. They was destroying and shredding files. Or they come to the scene of the crime and it was 2-person shot, they say it's one person. You understand? That's how you reduce the numbers. And then that famous interview with Jane Miller when she went to Joshua Softstein with his old soft ass gay self. Y'all remember him, man. He was the city health commissioner. And Jane Miller said, let me see the trauma center death records, right? And he said, well, here's the one for the University of Maryland shock trauma. Here's the one for John Hopkins. She said, but you didn't give me Bon Secours. You didn't give me Sinai. Sharfstein got up and left the room, man. You know what I mean? He was busted. He was busted because he was only given half-cocked numbers, man. So that's how you know they can play with the numbers, because they lie with the numbers. And, of course, when they start talking about these shootings, you say, well, where? Where the bodies? Where the bodies is being brought to the hospitals, man? Somebody got to be there with a clicker, man, because otherwise, you know, you at a club, somebody at the club with a clicker saying this how many people in the club. Somebody got to be there to monitor what they telling us and selling us right now, man. I'm sure they can get a grant. There's the Grant Chase Task Force out there. They can find somebody that'll be the clickers at the hospital. Otherwise, you don't know what numbers they giving you are true. Telling you 16 people got shot, 17 people got shot. You don't know that. And if they got shot, who did they get shot by? Now, as myself and Brother David Anthony Wiggins and Brother David Johnson and Brother Donald Smith been telling you, man, they got snipers out here. Same way the Israeli Mossad been operating, shooting Palestinians in the head and the heart and getting them body parts. They doing it in Baltimore City. You think Sham Rim beating up a young black boy in Park Heights is 1 in a million? No, man. Take that story and multiply. That's the story you found out about. That's the story we found out about. So you don't think that you got some Israeli defense forces operating inside of Baltimore City that's sniping at night, that's killing at night. When you know the song, right? The man eaters. They only come out at night. And, of course, for body parts. But you don't think that that's taking place because you got to wait to find out. You already heard inklings in the gun trace task force cases, man. They were shooting brothers, then planting guns on them. But you don't think they're just shooting them and not planting no guns on them. How else can you reduce the numbers in the city of young black men, man? Young black men for the most part. Young brown men, but particularly young black men. But yet, they're going to sell our people and tell our people that Alvin Hathaway, Reverend Alvin Hathaway, Todd Yeary, right? Who, again, from Chicago. Todd Yeary, whose mentor is Jesse Jackson. Jesse Ford Foundation Jackson. The one who left Dr. King up on the balcony to be shot. Then had a gun in his dip so that if Dr. King survived, Jesse Jackson's job was to finish off Dr. King. Now, if you don't believe me, go read the files. Get the book by William Peppers if you don't believe me. But Todd Yeary, don't wait for him to tell you that, because he's not going to tell you. Sorry about that. He's not going to tell you that, okay? So that makes him very dangerous if Jesse Jackson is his mentor. If Jesse Jackson is like a piece of whatever that is on the bottom of your shoe, Jesse Jackson is below that, okay? He's below that, all right? So now you tune to the state of the city. So let me give you the list of that Greater Baltimore Committee, if I got that. See if I can pull that up, man. Give you some of the names. But again, you can go to my Facebook page. But Hathaway's on the Greater Baltimore Committee. Who else? Yeary's on the Greater Baltimore Committee. These are the blacks I know that's on there. Jeff Hargrave, who I know from Mahogany, man. When I used to have the show on WOLB, Jeff Hargrave used to help sponsor my show on WOLB. I met Jeff Hargrave, Cherry Hill, and through my man, Brother Leroy, at Leroy's Barbershop. Good brother, though. But he's now decided to be a gatekeeper. Who else? What's the guy? Banks, the black guy. He's there. I can't think of his first name. It escapes me right now. He's the black on the Greater Baltimore Committee. I think Kurt Smoke, Greater Baltimore Committee. Arnold Williams. You know, Arnold Williams is a treasure for a lot of these boulets, man. For these black boulets. Arnold Williams was the treasurer for Bishop, what's his name was? Oh, sweet Bishop Oscar Brown. The one had the church down there in Mount Olivet. The church caught on fire, and they didn't have no insurance. Yeah, that's Arnold Williams. But the bishop was riding around in that $600,000 Bentley, and they all live out there in that little area out there in Howard County near what's that big golf resort out there? Turf Valley. They call it Preacher's Road, but the brothers call it Brokeback Boulevard out there where all of them live at. Walter Thomas, all of them live out there. They call it Brokeback Boulevard out there, man. But again, Arnold Williams is on there. Who else is on there? Kurt Smoke's on there. Might be somebody. Ken Banks, as I mentioned, is on there. Might be one or two more I'm forgetting. Calvin Butler's on there, BG&E, Constellation Energy or Exelon. Maybe one, Diane Bell McCoy, the Democratic bedwench. She's on there. That's why they don't want to get rid of Diane Bell McCoy. She's their Democratic bedwench. She's one of them groups, Associated Black Charities, that money launders for them when they need to. So again, the Greater Baltimore Committee, which is the Lesser Baltimore Committee, which is the quasi-public-private government-controlled entity, that if I became the mayor, first thing I'd do is dissolve the Baltimore Development Corporation and all these shadow government entities with these letters, BDC, GBC, and everything else, man. In fact, I call for them to be rounded up. If they are pushing this after Ross McNutt lied and spied with that spy and lie in the sky, and they are pushing this, I'd round them up. I'd do with Donald Trump on a local level. I'd drain the swamp, man. I'd round them up and all their asses would be charged. I'd tell the sheriff, go round them up. If he ain't gonna do it, take him out of office, man. Go and get him. You know what I mean? If you think you're gonna bring that here, they ain't doing that in no other city, but they want to test it here in Baltimore City. And then want the taxpayers to pay for it after 3 years after John and Laura Arnold pays for it. Now they got the Governor Hogan, who clearly is taking money from John and Laura Arnold as well as from Bloomberg, right? You know, old Mussolini or Mussolini, the neo-fascists. See, this is fascism, man. It's what they trying to push on the people right now. Damn what the people say. They're going to try to give you some fake polls and fake numbers and say, this is what we want under the auspices of reducing crime. And then Ross McNutt had the nerve to say they was operating in Juarez, Mexico. Man, they down there killing preachers. They killing politicians. The homicide rate down there is 7,000 people, man. And he's talking about they reduce crime down there. And where? Well, you reduce it from 8,999 to 7,000? Come on, are you crazy? But that's what they pushing on the people right now in terms of, again, the spy in the sky. Let me see, you got that clip from Fox 45? I think I got it on my page talking about it. I'll share that before we move on to the next story that I definitely want to get into. Officials pitched 3 surveillance planes in the sky. I think it's Fox 45 talking about Hathaway did a poll. Hathaway can't even spell poll, man. He sold his soul a long time ago. I think it's there about Hathaway. Talking about he did a poll. And 70% of the people or 72% of the people said that they are in agreements with the spy plane, man. And now what they doing is putting money in the hands. Here it is. I got it right here. Fox 40. Baltimore passed a commission poll about a surveillance plane in which he trying to say 74% of the people are in favor of a surveillance plane. If they are, it's because they don't know. And they only polled 500 people in the city of 600,000. That's not a poll at all, man. That's a troll. That's not a poll. You know what I mean? Talking about a damn poll. Yeah, as a troll, that ain't a poll. But let me see if we can pull that story up and share that with you. But again, Reverend Hathaway can't tell you what's best for Union Baptist down there. Y'all seen Drew Hill Avenue where that church is down there? See what it looks like, man? But he the same Hathaway that was co-signing for Martin O'Malley and the boys to get rid of all the public housing down there at, what's that called, McCullough Homes? For that State Center project down there. Because he got his hand in it, along with a few others that are pushing to get rid of the McCullough Homes projects for Micah and those that want that state-friendly project. Let me get this infomercial out the way. And then I think we got the actual clip here. See if we can get that to you. This is it right here. So you should be able to hear it. See if we got it.
Have an informed position. I wanted to really have a position where I had a sense of the pulse beat of people.
Reverend Alvin Hathaway Sr., pastor of Union Baptist Church, says there's been a lot of talk recently about bringing back the eye in the sky.
I said, hey, maybe this is a tool.
The controversial surveillance plane that flew over Baltimore in 2016, collecting video for police.
Talking to members in the broader community, and there were questions about this area of surveillance. And I was surprised when I began to talk to them how much they were amenable to having that tool be used by the police department.
That's why Hathaway used a $40,000 grant from the Able Foundation to commission a poll on the topic.
I think it's a time where we began to look really at the hurt and the pain that people are feeling and hear them.
The poll asked in general if they supported or opposed the program to conduct aerial surveillance over the city of Baltimore to reduce serious crimes like murder. More than 70% said yes.
I was surprised that 74% of the people wanted to have the police department to have this tool.
20% opposed, and 6% were unsure.
When there are incidents of violence, people are reluctant to talk. And so I saw this as an opportunity where there could be a non-biased way that a plane could see where a perpetrator, direction they've gone once the incident has occurred.
So again, that's man talking about a tool, but it's not a tool, but a fool in Reverend Hathaway. But again, he should at least said, I work for the Greater Baltimore Committee. I'm on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. So therefore, the poll was already going to be biased. Then say, not only am I on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee, but the president of the Abel Foundation, the man who started the Abel Foundation, a Zionist Jew by the name of Bob Embry, also sits on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. So you got a stacked deck, but you're not telling the citizens that. So see, if you're gonna talk transparency, Hathaway, see this is how you know they stacking the information against the public. They only giving you a little of the information, not all of the information. Like you're looking at one side of the board or a third of the board, but not the entire board. So they playing you is what they doing. So he's on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. Yeri's on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. Bob Embry's on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. That criminal Bob Embry, because he got kicked out of Housing Authority along with M.J. Brody, whose real name is Manash Jacob, for stealing money years ago. They got kicked out of it, okay? So don't let Bob Embry fool you, because they're going to eventually run his daughter for state's attorney against Marilyn Mosby. They ran her before, but they got to bring it back so they can put her in there, okay? But Bob Embry, who's a real criminal in this city, man. So don't trust nothing coming from the Abel Foundation. They're the ones that have helped to destroy your entire city. And I'm talking about Black Baltimore, from your schools to everything else. Abel Foundation gets certain reports and they distort them. They don't report on them, okay? So Hathaway can't be trusted because he's already sold his soul, okay, to his masters, clearly. So again, the citizens got to be educated. But notice, long as you get Loretta Young or Forever Young or that big jabroni over there, Larry Young, talking about it. Now, David Johnson been on his show talking about it, my brother. But notice Larry Young don't invite David Johnson to talk about that. Because Larry Young is clearly showing that he's taking money from Ross McNutt and others to push that agenda. So he can't go against it because, again, he sold his soul. And he ain't nothing but a soul seller for the most part as well. Okay? You don't do no soul searching because he don't have a soul. All right? So, again, we'll stay on top of this story in terms of what they're trying to push. But breaking news this afternoon was that the Greater Baltimore Committee under Donald Fry is saying that they're supporting, which they supported it the whole time. So they got to try to make it look like they did a real poll, and nothing could be further from the truth. All right? So keep your eyes on that, man, because, again, where those who's supposed to be standing up for the voiceless and the choiceless in the city? Where are those that claim that they're activists in the city to leave brothers like Brother David out there by himself, Brother Donald by himself to be attacked? Because they ain't attacking me. Because they know you better come with the facts or the acts. All that other stuff, sit down and shut up, man. Because it don't scare me, okay? I done been there, done that, got t-shirt, hat, underwear, jockey strap to match. So don't bring it to me. Don't bring it on my Facebook page. You definitely don't want to bring it here. And you definitely don't want to bring it on the airwaves, okay? Because I see you coming. I ain't new to this. I've been true to it, okay? So, where the activists? Where them brothers talking about they want brothers to stand up? You hear any of the brothers in the mosque talking against this? You hear Dr. Bundy and them speaking against this? You hear Powers and them speaking against this? Do you hear Black Radio speaking against this, man? See, you got to understand that Morgan State University, Dwayne Wickham and them, they taking money, man, to push this agenda. You're going to have Kay Wise White here pretend like she ignorant to it. No, she ain't ignorant, man. They taking money to push this on the people, man. It's what they doing. CIA honeycomb all over HBCUs right now. Trump trying to offer y'all a lifeline away from the CIA, okay? But y'all running to the CIA, man. HBCUs, pull the article up. CIA's coming for your HBCUs. Maybe it's not if they didn't already have them. When you know most of the HBCUs was controlled by the HBC Jews for the most part, okay? For them HBC Jews controlled your HBCUs, all right? You really want to have some conversation about it. So when you start talking about some reparations and compensation for the HBCUs, you better ask them HBC Jews, okay? Because they're the one control. Oh, David Wilson. I forgot. They're on the Morgan president, on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee also. Sugarfoot David Wilson. Y'all watch him be switching up and down the halls and more on the yard. You stomping on the yard. He comes switching on the yard. I know y'all done seen him, man. Oh, soft ass self, David Wilson. You know what I mean? But he on the board, Greater Baltimore Committee, as well, man. So they control them, is what I'm saying. Okay? These people cannot be trusted in no way, shape, or form, man. Because all they want to do is live high off the hog or give the impression they living high off the hog, man. That's all. So now, I want to go national before I come back home to Baltimore, man. But we got to continue to press them and ask where those men, though. The Bill Goodens and all those be telling our people they need to stand up. How come you don't hear them speaking out about this, man? And I mean really speaking out about it. Or have they sold their soul to Jack Young? Because when he first got in, they were saying ain't no more money when Kathy Pugh got popped and she got dropped. Or as we say, co-op you, co-drop you. And they said when Jack came into the room, they used to have him call the action meetings. They used to tell me about him, what's going on. D chasing them. They say first thing Jack Young told him, ain't no money for y'all. Now they done found some more money getting ready to go in the next season. And everybody out there pretending like they're working or jerking or twerking right now to get some money, man. To get some money for next year. So they telling men come out and march. What you marching for? You selling beefs in the street? You selling beefs in the street? What you marching? You ain't speaking out about Ross McNutt and what they doing? You ain't speaking out about Ricky Spector and what they doing to black women, using black women? They using these groups that Daphne Austin and them. Now, Daphne Austin's son was killed in Harford County. She ain't even from Baltimore. But they using Daphne Austin. They financing money to them through the state's attorney's office, right? I talked to Sister, what's Kevin Cooper's mom? Love her, Miss Greta Carter. I told her don't let them use you like that, like they using Daphne Austin and them. She got the Kevin L. Cooper Foundation. But you got Daphne Austin and them, man. They be running around here talking about the problem is us. That's what they'll tell you in a minute, man. They ain't speaking out against no police brutality. They ain't speaking out about the gun trade task force. So all I'm saying, don't be selective in your outrage, man. They trying to tell black folk you the problem in the city is what they'll say, man. They ain't talking about any of the other corruption going on or any other crimes going on. Only thing they telling you that you the problem because they got to say that in order to get that money. And that's what they doing. And they go to the state's attorney. She write the check. That's why they had that town hall meeting the other night with Anquan Bolden. Now, Anquan Bolden, they don't even live in Baltimore, man. They're going to bring him back here, give him a platform, put Jill Carter and some other people up on there. It'd be props, man. It'd be props for Anquan Bolden. Anquan Bolden don't live here, don't give here. What are the... Let's be clear, man. Them nigga gladiators don't get nothing back to the city, man. All right? Let's be crystal clear about that. They don't get back. Only one gave something was one of the offensive linemen gave that money to Forest Park, and they put a weight room over there, man. Ray Lewis ain't give up nothing. Under Armour put lights on the field at Dunbar. Modell put lights on the field at Mervo, man. Ray Lewis and them don't get nothing back to the city. They use you and come in and out of you like a damn mall when they want to come in up out of you. And you can't even go to the football game if you ain't got no tickets. You got nerve be sitting home talking about we lost. We talking about we who? Nigga, you can't even get in the stadium if you ain't got a ticket. They charge you with trespassing. Or we won. We talking about we who? They stay in a free stadium, $200 million stadium built by our taxpayer dollars, and you can't even use it. They used to have a city poly game. Ask them where the city poly game at this year. It ain't at M&T Bank Stadium. I bet you them white boys still having that Calvin Hall and Loyola game down there. You can't even use it. And you think you all that in a bag of chips because you went to City and Poly? Yeah, okay. They got a sign up there. Say, niggas not allowed. You can't even get in M&T Bank. Okay? And y'all ain't said nothing about that. Yet your children can go down there and pay them high prices to have a prom down there. And y'all know what I'm saying is true. But don't apply, let it fly. You can't go down there and use the stadium down there. Yet you going to the Ravens game. Right? You can't even use it. A stadium that you built, your taxpaying dollars, and you can't use it, man. Okay? So you ask them Ravens fans, would they let a blimp fly over them and record their activity? Hell no. So don't let them fool you with that is what I'm saying. So again, you tuned to the State of the City. Want to go national, man, before I run out of time tonight. Want to mention, saw the story. They were talking about NBA LeBron James. Y'all see when LeBron James and the NBA they got bitch slapped by China, man. China said, put some respect on our name. That's what they said. They said it's China, and we ain't talking about the China that's in your cabinet either. China, stay out of our business. Whatever is our business is our business. You ain't see that old monkey-looking NBA commissioner say nothing either. Oh, soft ass Adam Silver. He went and got James Harden last week. Then he went and got LeBron James this week, man. China said whatever happens in China is our business. This ain't North Carolina and no damn trannies trying to determine which bathroom to go to. In fact, they said we pulling all the TV cameras off of the NBA game when we played over here. And they went and got LeBron, and LeBron tried to condemn what's the guy named Daryl? What's the guy named Daryl Morey? What was his name? The general manager, right? Or what he said, right? See that LeBron? See, look, man, he know what to say. He know what to do. He looking out for that. He looking out for them Nike contracts, and they over there burning them LeBron jerseys right now, the old ones and the new ones. All right, he looking out for them with them old ugly Nikes that they make over there in China, and and China most likely financing that Space Jam 2 movie that he gonna be in. All right, so LeBron James, you come on, man. I know some of y'all quick to protect them gladiators, man. All right, quick to protect them gladiators. Speaking of another gladiator. Y'all was talking about last week. Let me just go ahead and burst your bubble. All right? Don't be saying I'm hating. Tyler Perry. Now, Tyler Perry, they said a couple of years ago, code language, a 330-acre property. The property was a Confederate Army base. McPherson Army base. And you better read the small print, because clearly this is part of most likely either an opportunity zone, because the blacks on the other side say Tyler Perry is developing his side, but not on the other side. So there's a fight going on in this part of Atlanta. Then you got Tyler Perry, who's tied. He's again, I always tell you, always look at who his agents are. Controlled by the brother of Rahm Emanuel, Ari Emanuel, WME. If you don't believe me, just Google Tyler Perry, WME. Okay? IMG. Tyler Perry just signed a big contract with Viacom, okay? To do these whole BET series, right? So he ended his contract with Oprah Winfrey and OWN, right? That's gone, right?
And the Discovery.
Right? And that's Discovery right there, because they own Oprah. Correct. Then he just signed a contract with, of course, all his movies are distributed through Lionsgate, right? Correct. And that's the Weinstein boys, right? That's Weinstein, right? So they they understand what's going on in Hollywood.
Formerly Weinstein.
So they taking it down to Atlanta, right, or the South now. Then he comes out and said now he's resurrecting the Medea character after saying he was burying her, right? He even had the movie, right, Medea Funeral, right? So now he's bringing Medea back.
He got to.
I don't think he even own the patent on Medea. I think them Jews probably own the patent on that. We'll look into it and find out for sure and let you know. All right. So now he says he opened up a house. This is what he said. Did you see what he said? He opened up a house for what do you call them? Sex workers, right?
They ain't say sex.
That's what he called them. Sex workers.
He didn't say sex workers.
Yes, he did. Sex workers. You know what sex workers are, right?
Prostitutes.
No. Come on, man. What's the new language for trannies? Sex workers, all right? Prostitutes still called prostitutes.
He said
trannies out there tricking called sex workers, man. All right? That's what they are, okay? The trannies tricking are called sex workers, all right? And that's what so watch Tyler Perry is what I'm saying, man. But there was also the recent, I think, studios that was built by, what's the guy that owns Chick-fil-A? Is that Dan Cathy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he owns Pinewood. So there's 2 studios being built down there. There's the one that Perry's tied to with some white boys. Then there's the one that Cathy's building also. So keep your eye on that. But a lot of that is tied into the McPherson, I think it's called the McPherson Redevelopment Authority. And all of this is not Tyler Perry. This is some white boys, but Tyler Perry's bought in as a partner. And I posted several articles over the last couple of weeks and couple of days talking about that. And some of the brothers and sisters might be in Atlanta. You might be familiar with it. All right? But here's the headline. Hong Kong burns LeBron jerseys everywhere. Everywhere. All right? Here's another article. Let me see if I got this article before I come to Trump. LeBron James, one day after tossing Daryl Morey under a bus, he said, I won't talk about it again. Okay. Well, that ain't what he said when he was selling all them wolf tickets talking about Trump, right? now all of a sudden, I ain't talking about it no more. Here's the article. Let me see if we got this article. You saw the article with Democrat New York Governor Andrew Cuomo called himself talking about nigger wops. Now, Trump would have said that, Sharpton and them be protesting. They be marching on Washington right now. He was on a radio interview, And he said they used to, now he was defending Christopher Columbus is what he was doing, right? Who they said was an Italian. And so he was talking about, that's what they used to call Italians wops, but he ain't say wops, he said nigga wops, all right? But you ain't heard this, the fake white liberal media say nothing about Cuomo need to apologize, all right?
Oh, need to apologize? No.
No, ain't apologize. Now let's keep going here. I want to get into this article about McPherson base. Here it is. Rendering Fort McPherson $600 million metamorphosis is moving forward thanks in part to the Gulch deal. Now that's from the AtlantaCurvebid.com. Of course, here's what Muhammad Ali's ex-wife said, I love LeBron, but he's no Muhammad Ali. You got that right. He ain't even Shahrazad Ali, much less Muhammad Ali, all right? Yeah, here's another one. Gotta make sure I give you this one on Tyler Perry. Let's see. Gotta get that one to you. It's more of this LeBron James on my page. I gotta get that up off of there. It's coming. Yeah, we'll talk about that one before we wrap up. Suspect in the shooting of this 2-year-old in Baltimore. They caught him. They didn't take no surveillance plane to catch him, did they? No. He had a long rap sheet, right?
I think it took.
So he had a long rap sheet.
$15,000.
So if he had a long rap sheet, right? Then and he never did a day in jail. You know what that mean, right? What did I say earlier? They put everything he was doing on a stet docket. So what does that mean? He's a CI. You know that means he's a criminal informant, right? He's working for somebody. The only question is, who is he working for? If a man got a rap sheet that long and they keep putting it on a stet docket in the state's attorney's office, that means he's somebody's rat out on the street. That's what that means. Somebody's Mitch. Somebody's bitch. So I got to be so, just straight with it. That's what that means. If he on the street and he had that many arrests and they keep putting it on the stet docket, that means he on the street and he's ratting for somebody or ratting on somebody. That's what that means, okay? So let's keep going here. See if I can find this other article before I get into Hunter Biden's side. Steps down from the Chinese board. If he ain't do nothing wrong, he definitely wouldn't step down. Let's give new meaning to a hunt for Red October, man. All right? And I ain't talking about Hunter Biden, but a hunt for Red October. There it is right here. Let me see if we got this.
What's that?
No, I'm trying to see if I had it. I think it hasn't come up. About Tyler Perry, trying to find it. I know what happening. Facebook been blocking a lot of my articles from posting. I know that. I do know that. But I've been posting them. They've been blocking them. But anyway, we'll come back, talk more about that, about the McPherson military base. Oh, here we go. Tyler Perry studio will feature a complex for trafficked women and displaced LGBTQ youth, man. Right. Now that's what he said. That's what displaced. But so you know what that means they doing down there, all right? In Atlanta. You gotta read between the lines here, my brother.
I mean, that's definitely big down there.
Yeah, that's definitely big down there. Let's see. Here's another one. Tyler Perry is coming out of retirement, bringing back Madea. Okay? That's right?
That's probably part of the deal. That's probably part of that deal with Viacom. Right? Yeah,
with Viacom.
They like, look, you need to bring this back.
Yeah, what Lionsgate and Paramount, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's the money maker.
Yeah, they control this distribution, right? He can have a studio, right? Yeah. But if he can't distribute it, right, he got to be able to distribute it, right?
Absolutely.
So they controlling the distribution. So that now you see it. Here's another one. See if we can find it here, but just wanted to get that to you. So therefore, you can go and read more about that for yourself. And I always say, here it is. Here's his partner right here. Tyler Perry, Tim Palin team for new production company. The guy, it's at the Hollywood Reporter. Tim Palin, rather. Timpalen. You can pull it up, read the article. And you can see Tim Palin, okay? Old white man, pale man right there, okay? The pale man right there. See who really kind of handling Tyler Perry there, all right? Here's the other one. Dan Cathy, Pinewood Atlanta Studios, hosting large film production ever, or the largest film production ever. So that's interesting that you have those that say that Tyler Perry now has a studio also. So there's some blurred lines here. You got Pinewood Studio, then there's this other studio that they say that Tyler Perry's having, but all that's tied to the military base. And I ain't never read where the military sells off military bases to a private citizen. So God always say the devil's in the details.
It's been closed since 2011.
The details since when?
2011.
2011, right. Well, there was what they call it the base realignment with BRAC, things like that, right? Right. But they find other places in space for military. But it might be housing. Some places they turn them into some camps now. Watch out, fusion centers. All right. But just wanted to get that to you, man. Let me go to this headline last week with Trump was speaking in Minneapolis. You got that clip? See if I can find that clip, man. With Trump, because everything is accelerating right now, man. And most of the people don't see what's going on. But I'm going to talk about Trump pulling troops out of Syria, because if that was Obama, the people be having a ticker tape parade right now, man. But Trump said he was pulling the troops. Only 50 of them they talking about they pulled. Trump said today is really 28. But you pull the troops out of Syria, and that northeast corridor of Syria, which Turkey has, the Kurds are there, but the Kurds' homeland is in Iraq. When the Bushes and the vultures that descended on Iraq, they carved Iraq into 3 regions. They balkanized Iraq into one part for the Sunnis, one part for the Shiites, one part for the Kurds. So now the Kurds are trying to take more land in northern Syria, which is not their land. So now Trump is saying he's not continuing the policies of Barack and Bush, which was trying to get rid of Assad. That ain't happening. So Trump is saying he's bringing those troops home, which he ran on the campaign to bring home the American troops, right? The Democrats were saying when the Bushes were in there and the Republicans were in there, we need to get the troops home. Now that Trump is in there, they saying we need to send over more troops. So unless you see who the real warmongers are, or the chicken hawks are, or the warlocks are for the most part. That's why I love the fact Trump is in there, because you able to see who are really dinos, Democrats in name only, and rhinos, Republicans in name only. Because Trump is a populist. He's not a Republican nor a Democrat. See? So it lets you see who's really pushing war. It's the bankers that want the war. The Zionists want the war, and Trump's not giving them what they want. So they say, we got to get rid of him. We got to get him up out of there because he's not giving us what we want. And when you begin to see who's behind a lot of these hashtags, you find it's the ADL. Resist this, resist that. That's all the ADL. Who's behind pushing this whole equality bill? ADL, the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, man. And then the British on the international level with pushing this whole, we got to impeach Trump. And most of the right wing talking about it, the alt left talking about it, but most of the corporate fake media is not talking about it. So let me see if I got this clip. Last week,
your father was
when
never considered
Joe Biden
smart.
was talking about former Vice President Biden. You got that clip?
Yeah.
He was only a good vice president because he understood how to kiss Barack Obama's ass. Here's Hunter being examined by Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd or some of these people. Hunter, it's so great that you're here, sir. Hunter, I know they're giving you approximately $168,000 a month. I hear they paid you a big check of $3 million. I just want to speak on behalf of NBC, who's absolutely one of the worst. I just want to tell you, Hunter, I just want to tell you, I couldn't be happier for you and your family. And I know you don't know anything about energy, and I know it's an energy company, but I think they made a great deal, Hunter. And then they fly to China. And I'm dealing with people right now, they're tough as hell, those Chinese negotiators. And Hunter, who's not too smart, Hunter. He goes in, he has a meeting, he walks out. It is fund with $1.5 billion, with a B, $1.5 billion. These aren't the same Chinese negotiators that I'm dealing with, I can tell you. These are not the same ones, but we are doing very well in that negotiation. Now think of it. Where's Hunter? Okay, get it. So where is Hunter? I want to see Hunter ask these questions. Hunter, you know nothing about energy. You know nothing about China. You know nothing about anything, frankly. Hunter, you're a loser. Why did you get $1.5 billion, Hunter? And your father was never considered smart. He was never considered a good senator. He was only a good vice president because he understood how to kiss Barack Obama's ass.
Stop that there. Here's with President Trump. He keeping it real. I have no problem with that. He keeping it real in terms of talking about the Bidens. And, of course, Hunter Biden. This gives new meaning to Hunt for Red October. Biden stepped down from Burisma, which is the company in the Ukraine who he sat on the board and was paid $50,000, if not $160,000 a month. Then the Chinese equity firm whose board he sat on as well. And, of course, that's now being, of course, investigated in terms of how his father played a role and how President Barack Obama played a role. Now, there are some rumors circulating on the internet, on some of the websites, that Obama's missing, that he could be in Guantanamo Bay. Now, as I said to a few people that I sent the articles to, time will tell, okay? Time will tell if he is, in fact, at Guantanamo Bay. But there's a war that's going on inside the country in terms of a civil war. A lot more people will be rounded up. Indictments have gone out, and more indictments are coming. But clearly what we've seen with Trump, as I saw one headline, Trump kicked over the grand chessboard as the British Levant wars with pulling out the troops and bringing the troops home. And all of this is right before the so-called Brexit vote that's taking place October 31st. So keep your eyes open, because there's a lot more that's going to go on inside of this country and internationally this month before this month closes out. Now, here's a piece today with Trump talking about President Trump on Turkey and Kurds, and they've got to work it out. And if this was a real issue, then, again, the Arabs could come to the table, since Kurds are Arab, right? And, of course, Turkey is a part of NATO, so NATO could come to the table, and the UN could come to the table and send in UN peacekeepers if this was a real issue, right? So, again, President Trump talking about how Italy and NATO haven't paid their bills, and how the UN hasn't paid their bills to the United States, but continue to want to be the United States to be the world's police. So this is, again, what Trump is saying is we're not going to be the world police in terms of using American soldiers, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, for these multinational corporations or these international bankers. So who would be angry with that? The international bankers. So he may be in the crosshairs as JFK was, because you start talking about the money. There's another component coming, which he's talking about the gold standard and this global currency reset, if that will take place this month or next month. But there's a lot going on beyond the headlines the people are not getting, okay? That's why these kind of shows are important, at least get you to think and see what else is beyond what is being fed to you right now. Because ain't no impeachment coming in terms of this whole thing. That's like chicken little turkey lurkey henny penny talking about the sky's falling, man. And they keep selling that to you. And some of y'all be telling me, he going to be impeached. Impeached don't mean you're going to be removed from office, okay? But if they was going to bring up the impeachment vote, it would have been bought up by now. Be clear about that, okay? Crystal clear. So let me go to this clip of President Trump talking about Turkey and the Kurds.
Syria to be for the United States strategically brilliant. Our soldiers are out of there. Our soldiers are totally safe. They've got to work it out. Maybe they can do it without fighting. Syria is protecting the Kurds. That's good. We are, and by the way, every player hates ISIS. Everybody we're talking about. Syria more than us. Russia more than us. They've done a big number on Russia. And we're over there fighting ISIS, but they're over there fighting ISIS too. They can handle it, and they should handle it. We can fight our own battles on our own territories. But you have a lot of countries over there that hate ISIS as much as we do. In some cases, probably more. So they can take care of ISIS. We have them captured. The United States captured them. Some were released just for effect, to make us look a little bit like, oh, gee, we got to get right back in there. But you have a lot of countries over there that have power and that hate ISIS very much as we do. So I think we're in a very strategically good position. I know the fake news doesn't make it look that way, but we've removed all of our, as we said, 50 soldiers, but much less than 50 soldiers. They're now in a very safe location, heading into an even safer location.
We'll stop that there. And what we'll do, look at the time there. We'll open up the lines, or we'll go on Facebook if you got a question, thought, comment. Phone number to get in on the conversation is 404-436-1277. Again, 404-436-1277. And of course, I saw where, see, we got some of these other headlines while we're waiting on some of the callers that want to get in. Where you fit in where you get in if you want to get in on the conversation. Again, here on the State of the City at Radio on Fire. But again, today, 16th, October 16th, as I mentioned, Million Man March. Also, of course, the tragedy of the Dawson family, 17 years later since the murder of Angela Dawson, her husband, Carnell Jr., her daughter, LaJuan, her son, Juan, and her two younger sons, Keith and Kevin. So never, ever forget the Dawson family on this day as we stop and remember the historic anniversary of the Million Man March. But with that, if you got a thought, question, comment, here's your opportunity, 404-436-1277. If not, any comments on Facebook page, my brother?
Yes, somebody asked, where is Elijah Cummings?
Yeah, where is he? He's missing in action right now. I don't think he want to, after what Trump and them exposed on him. And again, as I said before, the Dawson family blood is on his hands, and that community over there in Oliver, I mean, they have nothing over there, really. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth, man. And Stop, Shop, and Save got shut down because shoppers came in, and he was in Mondawmin. And then they shut down the store over there on Monroe Street. I think they put Potts and Callahan over there, man. So they created food deserts when they shut him down. Virginia, I think it was called Rich Food. Rich Food actually owned a lot of his distribution. And he owed money to Rich Food. So they shut him down in terms of not bringing food and supplies to him. But he was told, get out of Mondawmin or we're going to put you out of Mondawmin. So Kathy Pugh was in on it because the guy who was the state senator out of Prince George's County, Ulysses Carey, he came up here and was negotiating, man, on behalf of shoppers. It was the first shoppers that they put inside of Baltimore City, other than the one that they had up in the Jewish community up in Mount Washington, up there on Smith Avenue. So, and now I think shoppers is going to be shutting down. I don't know if it's the end of this year they shutting down and moving out of Mondawmin. Yeah. And now you got people, see how they're using that game to try to get Mondawmin bailout money? All them, you ain't got a black-owned business in Mondawmin. And you heard all them Arab and Pakistanis running around talking about they don't feel safe. Did you see that story today? Talking about some of their businesses didn't open up on Monday. Talking about all that money they take out of this community, they don't feel safe. You're a damn liar. You know what I mean? I ain't seen one Hyundai leave them out in there that they drive. All of them driving Benzes, you know what I mean? Benzes and stuff. Talking about BMWs and talking about they don't feel safe, man. You're a damn liar. That's the biggest cash mall on the East Coast, and they gonna talk about they don't feel safe. They trying to get some bailout money from the city. That's an opportunity zone, you know that, where they got Mondawmin at. So they definitely trying to get some bailout money by talking about they don't feel safe up there. Yeah, right. When last time somebody been robbed in Mondawmin? You get brothers that get shot outside of Mondawmin. Ain't nobody being robbed inside of Mondawmin Mall. Except the shoppers being robbed by them high prices they got up in there, right? You say they Arabs or Jews. You know what I mean? And them Asalama fakeums up in there. That's what they are, man. God never talk about they don't feel safe. I mean, what am a black man in Baltimore City and they gonna say they don't feel safe? Come on, that's a smack in the face to our people, bro. But let me come to the line, 404-436-1277. Good evening, Carla. You on the State of the City at Radio on Fire. Come right on in with your question or comment.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I just want you to know that my house was sold for unpaid water bill, so I've been having these signs made, and on Monday I had a sign that had Jack Young as a rat, Brandon Scott and Andre Davis. I said they were rats and they should be indicted for stealing properties for unpaid water bills. And under it, because I knew that Ricky Spector was having a press conference.
Yes.
So on my sign, I wrote that Ricky Spector sat on the city council for years and she did nothing and she should be indicted.
I agree.
So when I got downtown, the press conference had already started, so I stood right next to Ricky Spector.
Thank you.
And they went crazy.
Thank you.
I mean, they were absolutely crazy. And I want you to know, Ricky Spector cussed me out, Darren.
Now, you should have recorded her. You should have recorded it and posted it. But send me a picture. Send me that picture on my Facebook page. Are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, but here's the thing. Because when I went down there, I had my headphones on, and Mr. Vignoraja, I spoke with him about the plane in the sky, and I specifically asked him if the plane in the sky solved any problems or any murders in Mexico. And Mr. Vignoraja started talking about the helicopter. I said, after the press conference was over, I said, look, I'm not talking about the helicopter. I want to know how many murders has the plane in the sky solved. And he said he did not know. But back to Ricky Spector, she when I had my headphones on, and she walked up to me and she said something. I said, well, excuse me. She said, what you mean, excuse me? I said, because I have my headphones on. I wanted to know what you said. She says, this is a sacred, solemn occasion, and you're down here with this. And she says, you're crazy. I said, no, you're crazy.
That's right.
She said, this is a quote. She said, you're full of bullshit. And I said, oh, you're full of bullshit.
That's right.
And she said, you need to go to hell. And I said to her, I've already been to your house. I said, here you're down here. You sat on the council. They sold all these houses, and now you're down here talking about some damn plane in the sky. When you live in Pikeville, and when you're in the city, you're in a gated community. So why are you concerned about some plane in the sky? So she just said, you're full of bullshit, you're crazy. And I said, I already told you, you're full of bullshit, and she walked away.
Thank you.
Doc Cheatham was there also. Now, Doc Cheatham, if he will tell a story, he will tell you that when they saw me and they read my sign, they all became scared. They were terrified.
So wait a minute, let me ask you. So Doc Cheatham was down there in favor of the plane also?
Doc Cheatham was there with his red suede shoes.
Well, I know that. You're going to see that looking like Phi Beta perpetrator. He definitely going to be there looking that way. That's the shameful part. But Doc Cheatham can't be trusted like Leo Barrows and the rest of them. They tend to rob the fence. You know what I mean? They don't want to take no real stand. As Dr. King said, pose ask, is it popular, right? Vanity ask, does it look good? But at night, your conscience got to ask, is it right? And oftentimes, they trying to be a seeker of consensus as opposed to being a molder of consensus. So that's why I don't really work with them or trust them in any way, shape, or form, sister. But please continue.
So when I spoke to Doc Cheatham, and he got up and he made some comments about being in favor of the press conference. I mean, being in favor of the plane in the sky. But he never said that. Only thing he kept saying, he knew when he saw my sign, he knew that it terrified them. Now, if some other gentlemen were there, I don't know them. And there was a lady her name is Victory Swift.
I know Victory Swift. I know her very well. And I remember, well, that's all right. I'm going to save on that tonight. But again, I would just say shame on her to allow herself to be manipulated and used by Ricky Spector that way. When I know her sons and watched her sons grow up inside the mosque, and had they been in the confines, I think, of the mosque in terms of the discipline, then that young brother wouldn't have been out on the street in a fight that time of night. He was out there on the street fighting, and that's what led to, unfortunately, his untimely death. But shame on her to allow Ricky Spector to use her. Because Ricky Spector don't love her son, and don't love most of these young brothers that's been killed in the city. She ain't been to one funeral of one little black boy or black girl killed in this city. You understand?
I totally agree with you. And I said to Miss Swift, and I'm going to tell you, Darren, because I was right at the podium,
yes.
Whatever she said was scripted. And there was a white lady that was there with Ricky Spector. I don't know if she was a short white lady, and she said, you should be ashamed of yourself coming down here with this sign. I said, no, her ass should be ashamed for sitting down on city council, not helping anybody. Right. I'm going to tell you, the last thing Ricky Spector said to me was, you never called my office to complain or say anything about unpaid water bills. I said, well, did you call anybody whose houses were sold?
That's right, never.
She said, that's she walked away.
That's right. Thank you, sister. I applaud you. And thank you for calling in and sharing that good news with us. But if there's anything I can do to help, please reach out to me to see what we can do to help you with your home. It's never too late. And if you're still in the house, stay in the house, okay?
I'm in the house. The last thing I'm going to say to you now, I do have another sign up. I'm just waiting for a clear day to go down to Marilyn Mosby's, because I got a sign that's got Marilyn Mosby's face, and it says that Marilyn Mosby is a scaredy cat. And I said that she was scared of Jack Young. She was scared to indict Brandon them because they know that all of this money that was coming to the city, that they sat there and they did nothing.
That's right.
So I'm just waiting for a clear day and for me to have some time to go down to the SunTrust building, because I don't know if you're aware that Marilyn Mosley has 2 floors down at the SunTrust building. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna get somebody to take a picture of me down there.
You send it.
And send it to. Okay, now if you want a picture of me down there, the guy who took pictures for Mr. Vignoraza, he was the one who took pictures.
Okay.
I couldn't take them because I was just there standing there to get my point across and to let the media know that this is what's happening.
All right. Thank you.
But I will be sending you pictures from now on, okay?
All right. Thank you, my sister. God bless you. Have a good night. Thanks for calling in.
Keep it work. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. So, again, sister says she went down. That's what we got to do. Sometimes you got to go down and interrupt what they think is going to be smooth sailing, man. You got to go there. You got to act up and act out sometimes. Y'all ain't got no problem doing that because you know how to do that. You know what I mean? So, sometimes that's what you got to do. Not allow them to run those scripts on our people. And that's what they think they can do without any opposition right now. They've tested the waters. They tested your pulse and think you so dead that they can come down there and have a press conference and nobody's going to lift a finger or say anything outside of what you do on radio or social media. So sometimes you got to get right in their space and right in their face and make the comfortable very, very uncomfortable. And you'll see how they respond when you hit them with just the truth. Sometimes you ain't got to say nothing. Just show up. Right there in the space as the sister said she did. So thank you, sister. Next call or comment on Facebook?
Yes. Comment, someone saying, do you really think our vote counts?
Which vote you talking about? You vote for a city council, you vote for mayor, or you talking about you vote for the president? So depending on which vote you're talking about. All right? That's the bottom line. So, and I always say the votes count, there's the ones that they count. So that's the bottom line. All right? But politics is only part of the solution. It's not the entire part of the solution in terms of to our people's condition and to our people's plight and fight. So it just depends on what part you're going to fight in, on what part you're going to participate in. I ain't saying give all your energy into voting, but of course, as I always say, go to the city election. You don't see no Koreans in line, but they understand the power of using their economic power, their economic might. They call Jack, listen. They call your former mayor Kathy Pugh, she listen. Because they use the power of their economic might. That's all. All I'm saying, you do what you see them doing as well. You don't see them Koreans in no voting lines, man. You don't see them Arabs in no voting lines. But they got, of course, businesses. So the city listens to them because they put their little syndicates and their cartels together. So we have to be willing to do the same thing and then put pressure where pressure should be placed. But if we are the majority of the citizens in the city, then we already have the political power. It's how you move with that political block that we have in order to bring about some real substantive change in the city and changing a paradigm in the city. And that has to happen. So it's whether you want to vote to do it overtly or covertly. That's the bottom line. So with that, next question.
This is interesting. It says, Brother Darren, I say those eyes in the sky will soon be drones armed with lasers or bullets to keep slave catchers / night watchers on their posts, which to keep the Negroes in check. That's military code language, city in crisis. To me, it's part of their agenda. What do you think is their aim?
That could be. You know, what you call that is Fabian fascism. I think Target used to have a commercial in which they said a little bit more. So what they do is see what you will tolerate and what you will accept. So I think, as my brother Dr. Phil Valentine used to say, it's like the frog in the pot. You just turning the water up little by little and see what the people will adjust to. Dr. King called it a proneness to adjust to an injustice. And so that's what they're doing, or as they did in Nazi Germany, as Ricky Spector, which she allowed, as Adolf Hitler used in Nazi Germany, that kind of technology to be used in the Jewish community, since she's trying to push forward in the black community. And see if them Jews will go forward in the Jewish community. I don't think so. And if they were using, now if you Google, it was an article where the ACLU was suing because ICE was using and tapping into the data bank, right, of those tag readers, and finding out which illegal immigrants which immigrants was in the country illegally or in the state illegally.
Right.
Now the ACL sued this year to say that they couldn't do that.
Correct.
Now when it comes to the illegal immigrants, the ACLU is willing to sue for them. But when it comes to citizens like us that they're willing to use this aerial surveillance, there's no history of the ACLU filing no lawsuits. You understand what I'm saying? So or NAACP, or any of these civil rights groups, Monumental Bar Association. So all I'm saying is, Dick Gregory said, don't change the script when our turn comes. That's all. You know what I mean? If it's wrong to use voyeurism, right, in the synagogue, right, don't use it up in the sky on me. That's all I'm saying. And you don't have my permission. I'm trying to see what the law is. I know I wrote the law down of what that is. It's and Maryland is one of 11 states that has the two-party recording laws, man. So you can Google those articles, but it makes it clear that you cannot be recording without the person's permission. Now, if somebody come into your home and they got them doorbells, that's something different. But you talking about using a surveillance, you don't have my permission to do that. So that's why Ross McNutt should be charged, because he already committed a crime. So you can't try to clean it up to say, well, now we got permission from, no, hell no. You can't do that, man. You breaking and inching, and now all of a sudden you will come back and say, oh, ding dong, I'm ringing the front doorbell. No, it's too late now, right? Somebody got to go to jail for this, man. Somebody got to be held accountable for that. Ain't no sitting down negotiating with a criminal. Next question, thought, comment.
Larry Young now supports a spy plane. Don't take much to pay that prostitute off.
No, not at all. He's a destitute prostitute, bro. What if they would have had a spy plane around here when he was part of that murder to Marvin Moore? You know what I mean? Go back, see if he in favor of DNA testing, and go back and dig up exhume Marvin Moore's body and see if his DNA is on Marvin Moore. See if he'd be in favor of that. Watch how quick that big jabroni changed this whole conversation. What? Marvin Moore? Oh, no, not me. Better be slow and right and be very wrong, coach. So no, man. Larry Young got too many skeletons in that closet. In fact, he passed skeletons. He got full-grown bodies, man. He got van lines. Damn the skeletons, all right? So y'all need to stay away from Larry Young. Next question.
They done took copping. We have more Jews teaching at copping now than ever.
You see that new report came out, Kerwin Commission, talking about they want $4 billion for public schools, and they said most of it they wanted to go toward is paraprofessionals. Well, who you think run them paraprofessionals, man? All right, that's their money maker. They ain't talking about putting AC in the schools, getting let out the water, or the let out of the water in Baltimore City Public. They're not talking about that. They just talking about paraprofessionals, because who you think gonna run them paraprofessional positions, man? It's their money maker. Using our children is all they doing, bro. So you see that big fight in Howard County? When you start finding out who don't want the people in Howard County, you find out who it really is behind it. So next question. Copping is gone. I told you copping was going to be called coping instead of copping, okay? and Morgan, that old boule over there, what's his name? David Wilson, sits on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. So he's not talking about the opportunity zones. They're not talking about any of that with you. They talking about a spy in the sky. They're not talking about jobs for these young men in the city of Baltimore. They're not talking about, of course, business opportunities. They just talking about crime is what they're talking about. In fact, you got this many men unemployed is a crime, man. Poverty is a crime. The lack of quality education is a crime. But they're not addressing any of that. They don't want to deal with the cause. They only want to deal with the effects. And you don't know if the numbers that they're giving are really true regarding these shootings and these killings that's going on. But again, that's the crime within itself. Next comment, thought, question?
Back to this. Did you see Pharrell on the cover of GQ magazine?
No, but Pharrell's one of them MK Ultra boys, as I said before.
Yeah.
Man. So when they brought Pharrell out, it clearly was letting you know. When they started calling themselves the Billionaires Boys Club, that's what what's his name? What's her name? Diane. What's her name? Ravitch wrote the book. And she talked about the ones who control the public school system through their grants and foundations, and she called them the Billionaires Boys Clubs. She wasn't talking about Pharrell and the rest of them. So all this is about the effeminization of black males and the black male image. So it's interesting. You don't see no white men wearing skirts I'm talking about the white celebrities. Only white men you see wearing them skirts is the Mel Gibsons, right? In movies like 300. They not dressing like no woman, but they got these guys. Right? That's what they pushing right now, man. And it creates gender confusion and confusion among the young people that can be confused.
Right. Will Smith.
And that's what they're doing. Right. Will Smith, he sacrificed his son, sacrificed his daughter, got his son wearing more skirts, daughter wearing more shirts. You know what I mean? Then they got nervous to sit up on TV and talk about what they call it, red table talk.
Yeah.
And you get our people sitting there listening, talking about what Will Smith and Jada Smith said. I might go watch a movie, but this right after Jada Smith did, what was that old nasty, filthy movie she did, Girls Trip? And black women was going out binge watching it for the most part. Calling women bitches like it was their first name, right? Talking about golden showers, peeing on people and everything.
Yeah,
and black women were going to like binge watching to go see it. You know what I mean? Like
they was going out in groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all they were doing was pushing Hollywood's agenda on our unsuspecting people for the most part, bro. Now that's the sad part.
Here's an interesting question for you.
Yes.
You really need to run for mayor.
Run for mayor?
Let me know so I can put in my leave of absence and help.
Okay. If I decide to do it, I will definitely let you know. But I ain't going to run for mayor. I'll be fighting for mayor. All right? We got enough damn people running in the city. That's the problem right now. We need fighters. I don't need no more people running for nothing. So, but again, that just means we'll be trying to change some real things around here, man. A lot of them that's in this city hall right now, if I was, they wouldn't be in there. Trust me. They wouldn't. They'd be on a straight trail to jail. You talking about drain the swamp? I'd be in D.C. giving them a whole list of people we got to drain up out of here, man. So they would say in politics, and no permanent friends, or permanent enemies, permanent interests.
Correct.
The permanent interests will be the freedom of our people, man. The liberation of our people, and then others after that. Black, brown, red, yellow, and white. But our people going to be first and foremost. But a whole lot of people be on the straight trail of jail if I was the man. They can forget it, okay? They be in a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot of trouble. But it'd be a lot of things changed for sure. Overnight, it'd be changed. All right? That would take the next question, thought, comment before we have to begin to wrap up.
Speak objectively. How has the job market been in Baltimore since Trump has been in office?
How's the job market been? There's a lot of jobs that's been created, but again, the information is not getting to the masses of our people. What they keep trying to trick our people, talking about job training for the most part. And you see all this development going on in Baltimore City. What we don't have are the elected officials, right? Like Perrin Mitchell used to say, our people don't need job fairs. They need fair jobs, man. You see everybody working in the black community. So when you say, let's speak honestly, look at all these groups that's coming in the city, that's working in our city. Look at all the programs that's open up in our cities, but we not running the program. So you see opportunity. We just not getting the opportunity to get in on opportunities as far as what's going on in terms of the job markets right now. And they'll say, well, our people can't pass this kind of test. That you think all these illegal undocumented immigrants passing tests, man? They ain't got a driver's license. So what did they know? Politics is supposed to reward your friends and punish your enemies, man. In this city, it's the opposite. They punish the friends and reward the enemies for the most part. So it's the political leadership that's failing the masses of our people. But again, Baltimore being so close to Washington, D.C., there's a lot of opportunities and jobs that's coming to the city. A lot of money that's coming to the city. But our people don't know. And so therefore, the scripture says they destroyed for the what? The lack of knowledge. They don't know. They're like children. They're dependent on the leadership to tell them. And the leadership's not telling them that. And that's the crime within itself. They keep the information from you. They only harp on, we got to get rid of Trump. Only harp on crime. But they're not talking about all this development that's going on. I said Baltimore City got 42 opportunity zones, man. That means development's going on in those areas and more development is coming. How come our people don't know this information except they hear me talking about it? Ain't nobody else talking about the opportunity zones. So Park Heights, opportunity zone. Mondawmin, opportunity zone, man. All these groups coming in, Arabs, they don't even speak the language they come in here. Oh, how the hell they gonna open up a 7-Eleven, man? You go in the store, they don't even know how to operate the computers in there. But somebody training them and teaching them so they know how to do it. So why they not doing it for our people at the same time? Again, it's the political power. Those who got the political power gonna make sure that their people get the goods and services they supposed to have. That's the bottom line, man. You go down to port and get a job. You get whites just coming in the country, go down to port and get a job. But they don't even direct our young brothers to go down to port to get a job. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? You go down to port, start off $100,000. That's the biggest thing moving up and down the coast of the ports right now. They just got a new contract the last couple of years, 1914, with Panama Canal. Big money down at the ports. Baltimore is one of the top 10 ports in the country, if not in the world. Who's directing our young brothers to go down to the port, man? Who's talking to the unions? The brothers down at the unions to say, we got to get these brothers working, man. Them brothers they can work at the port. You don't need no high school diploma to work at the port of Baltimore. But they keep us away from that kind of information. You know what I mean? So that's all part of it. So that's my reality of what I'm seeing inside of Baltimore. That's all. So next question, thought, comment?
If we had no allegiance to either party, would things be better?
Yeah, don't have no allegiance to a party, have an allegiance to our agenda, man. That's what we got to have. We got to have agenda. That's why I keep coming back to what I said at the beginning of the show in terms of the Million Man March. It ain't got to be necessarily the Million Man March, but the concept, the vision, the agenda of a Million Man March to have a local, regional, national, international agenda. Short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals, man. Right now, China's sitting down with India, the two largest populations on the planet, talking about their goals so that they don't clash and go to have no war. The British was trying to manipulate war between China and India. They can sit down. You mean we can't sit down and do the same thing? That's all I'm saying. We got to be able to do the same thing. And therefore, we don't have to have no allegiance to any particular party. Our allegiance is to ourselves. The Jews, for the most part, allegiance to themselves. They don't give a damn whether it's Democrat or Republican. As Maya Angelou Rothschild said, we don't care who makes the law as long as they control the money. Well, they about to run out of that. But nevertheless, all I'm saying is that we got to stay true to our agenda in terms of us as a people. In the cities and in the states and in the country and international as well. But good question. Next question, thought, comment?
So what you're saying is if the agenda is right, you could get along with Martin O'Malley?
See, it ain't about O'Malley, right? Whoever's in that position, if they the governor, if that governor is going to endorse our agenda, what's there, and I don't mean endorse it, I mean actually implement it. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Then it ain't about the person. I'm beyond the personality, right? I'm beyond the principalities. If it's principles. But if they not men of principles, then we got to move them out the way, man. That's the bottom line. That's all. You move them out the way by any and every means necessary. And I do mean any and every means necessary. Some of us may have to go to jail. Some of us may have to go off the planet to that next plane. You know what I mean? Some of us may have to live in exile. But they will get the message one way or the other. Okay? Be clear about that. I don't care if damn who it is, Martin O'Malley or anybody else. But if Martin O'Malley committed crimes against our people, then his days are numbered. You don't be walking around talking about you sitting down with Martin O'Malley. What you do is you had that crew like we had back in the 60s with the Goon Squad, Black October, and we be talking about how Martin O'Malley will not even be an O'Malley anymore, okay? His children can inherit what he did, but he'll never be around here to see the future. That's how men talk. There won't be no future for Martin O'Malley. You wouldn't even be foolish enough to ask me about a Martin O'Malley, because Martin O'Malley would have been a has-been by now. Okay? That's the bottom line. You do that to any other group of people, they be talking about their tormentors in the past, not talking about working with them. Okay? So let me see. Whoever was asked that question, how childish they are or foolish they are to be talking about a Martin O'Malley. I just sit here and told you about his crimes against our people, and you talking about working with him. You had crimes against Jews. You think the Jews would be sitting there talking about working with you? Hell no. They went after their tormentors. They executed their tormentors. They didn't sit around talking about how they're going to work with their tormentors. Martin O'Malley was a tormentor to our people, sleeping with black women, killing Ken Harris, giving orders to kill Robert Clay, and others that you don't know about. And you tell me you're going to work with him? No. Maybe his son could be worked with. Maybe his daughter could be worked with. But he ain't no damn good. So he had to go. He would be past tense. And that's how you have to deal with him, past tense. Okay? And when that day comes, it just be an article in the paper. Martin O'Malley, like they killed Ken Harris. How'd he die? We don't know. Those that say don't know. And those that know, they don't say. Next, bottom line, okay? And if you don't believe me, go read the article about Charles Hopkins. He called my show every Saturday. He's still out at Spring Grove. He came home, he told me the story about how when he won some money, he went downtown, little man, he ain't big as this microphone. But he won some money on street numbers, and somebody gave him a permit for a store, and he kept going downtown. And they wouldn't give him his permits. And he went downtown one time with his brother. He said he told his brother, I'm going downtown alone by myself this time. He went down there and shot 5 people inside City Hall. And one of them had a heart attack after seeing the other one get shot. He shot a DiPietro or Mamichio or one of them. And then he shot the secretary. He told me about it. Then he shot, I think it was Joe Curran's father, who had a heart attack from seeing everything that went on, and he died 6 months later. And then he told me that they told him to act crazy. He said, well, if a man went downtown and shot 5 people, he ain't got to act crazy. You know what I mean? He told me how they put him in, he wasn't in Spring Grove. He was in, I think it was Clifton Perkins. He told me the story. I go and visit brothers in prison. I go and visit brothers that's locked down in Spring Grove. He told me that whole story about what happened. You can read about it. And he was the one that they had to put up metal detectors in City Hall. He ain't big as a loaf of bread with a wrapper on it. But he was somebody that got tired of them messing over him. See, when you get tired of them messing over you, I'm talking about us collectively, they know we'll move heaven or hell to deal with them, okay? And we ain't worried about no consequences. That's the bottom line. So when you get that tired, like a little bitty man like Chuck, he the one always call and say, I pray to a black God. And I thank my God, and I want my God to kill all these white folks. He said in a minute, and he ain't got no hesitation in his voice when he say it. Okay? So next question, thought, comment.
What's up with all of these white drug addicts showing up in the black communities lately? I've been seeing many of them, men and women.
Again, we're all saying some sent, one went, some went. But again, you don't know, you know what I mean, if they real agents, right? Or they real addicts for the most part. So I watch all of them when you see it. But they clearly know where they go to get, I guess, whatever they think is the top drugs in terms of what's selling right now with fentanyl and everything else. So again, you got to watch them because again, when you see a lot of these abandonments and houses, they living in them. They know where the stash houses are and everything else, man. So you can't tell me they know where they are and the police don't know where they are. You understand? Law enforcement don't know where they are, right? And then the other part component to that is they send them in when they getting ready to gentrify the community. They send in the gays first, right? Then they send in what you call the PWT, poor white trash. They send them in too, man, right? We never said they can't live among us. We don't bar them out. But if you try to move in their neighborhoods, that's usually what you'll see. But it's just unfortunately that you see any of them that's on fighting the disease of addiction. But Baltimore City, this was in the year 2002. They said we had 60,000 drug addicts. So you know if it was 60,000 then, we got much more today. Probably about 100,000 drug addicts. And if they use to live and live to use, as my brother Bay would always say, and they using drug at least 2 times a day, 3 times a day, that means you got at least about 200,000 drug addicts living in the city of Baltimore. Because they using twice a day. At least twice a day, right? So come on, man. How you going to say you're going to stop crime and you can't even resolve that issue right there in Baltimore City? They don't want to resolve it. They want to keep it going. Because this all part of as the British did to the Chinese. What better way to keep the people down than to keep them drug out, right? Strung out, hung out, tongue out. What better way, right? And that's what you see going on, man. Zombie land in Baltimore City. More so than you see it in any other place. And of course, they don't talk about that because they gotta break laws in order to feed those habits for the most part, right? So all that goes on, man. If you don't stop that and deal with that, you really don't want to stop no crime in the city of Baltimore. You just don't want it to spread over in certain neighborhoods and certain zip codes. That's all that means. So next question, thought, comment before we begin to wrap up.
Can you comment on the Equality Act and the Pedophile Protection Bill?
Equality Act. There's an article I posted on my page. I think it was a recent article talking about the Equality Act in girls' sports, man. But the Supreme Court got 3 cases this month that's coming before them. But that's not tied to the it is, but it isn't tied to the Equality Act. But again, the Equality Act, which is a 300-page report, and Hollywood and others been trying to get in on it, using the girl, what's the white girl, Taylor Swift, with her new album, new video, that new VMA award she got with all them trannies was on the stage with her, right? Pushing that, and she don't even know what's in the Equality Act. So most of the white media won't talk about it. The mainstream fake media definitely ain't talking about it. Black media is not talking about it. But again, in the Equality Act, we saw where federal judge just struck down Obama's order mandating doctors to perform sex assignment surgeries. Federal judge just yesterday struck that down. That was in today's Washington Examiner, talking about you couldn't force that. But I'll have to eventually bring Brother Genie back on, Brother Dr. Short, and talk more about the Equality Act. Here's a headline was in the paper yesterday. The media blackout on the Equality Act and girls' sports. That's at hotair.com. But you could read it because what's happening, the little girls that are breaking records in track and field and other sports, Now the boys are saying that they are not boys but little girls. So because of the Equality Act, the boys can now play little girl sports, man, right? You saw in the MMAs recently where the tranny beat that woman and beat that woman unconscious for the most part, right? So this is what's coming, man. That when you sitting home watching WNBA, you're going to have men wanting to be in the WNBA now. And if you don't let them in, they're going to sue the WNBA, and WNBA will be no more WNBA. It'll be WTNBA or something like that, right? So this is what's coming down the pike, man. And in college sports, where women play basketball, the men going to want to play, saying that they're women, right? And so this is what's coming down in terms of the trannies, and then some of them are just straight men, but they're going to say they don't identify with being a man, but they're a woman. So this is what's coming down, and there's so much more that's in the Equality Act. That's why lesbians, the white lesbians, coming out against it, because the white men want to eventually replace the women. They coming in saying they want hot, what do you call it, hot wax treatments, things like that, on the scrotums. You don't do it, they suing you. Yeah, they suing. You don't do it, they come in your mosque, right, and say that they don't want to be identified as a man, but as a woman, right? And you say, well, you got to sit over there with the men. They say, no, I'm not sitting over there. And they get their lawyer. He's going to be Jewish. Let's be clear about that. The ones that's arguing for them right now, the Zionist Jews. And that's what the ADL are arguing, the amicus brief. So we're going to eventually slow it down, pull up the bill, look at what's in the bill, right, and share that with the public, because most don't know, man. So your little girls playing sports, and right now, little girls, they saying they ain't going to bathrooms, man. They going to bathrooms and boys in the bathroom with them right now. You know what I mean? So girls can be raped. And they're going to say, well, I can't rape you because I'm not a man. You know what I mean? That's what they'll say. I'm not a boy. I'm a girl. So it's the confusion that they're creating, man. And so all of this is in the Equality Act. But time won't allow me, because of the time we're on right now, these last 5 minutes, to talk about it in depth. But we'll have to bring Brother Genie on. Again, Brother Irritated Genie. Shout out to that brother who I love tremendously. Dr. Randy Short, and I think really slow it down and go piece by piece, because it's 300 pages. And of course, it was the Democratic Congress that passed it. The Republican-controlled Senate ain't even bringing it up. Trump saying no. So people, you can hate Trump, but again, on this, I agree with him. You can hate the Republicans. On this, I agree. I ain't hating them at all, man. When it comes to this, in terms of, again, defining clearly that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Ain't no blurred lines here at all. So on that, we totally agree. So I have no disagreements on that. So again, we'll talk more about that. I think if I can get the brothers on next week or the following week, and we can definitely get into that and talk more about the Equality Act, because most of our people still don't know, because again, black media won't touch it because that's above their pay grade. You can forget that. Tom Jordan, Ricky Smile, they ain't touching that, man. Them gays, them Jews be called, they control their advertisement. I said, what? David Cantor called him. I wish you would bring that up over there. The next thing you know, they ain't talking about it, man. Tell me any of them top shows, Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, and the rest of them, you think they ain't talking about that Equality Act, man. If you don't get it here, Dr. Short, Brother Irritated Genie, or maybe a few others, they ain't touching that Equality Act, man. They not talking about that. So again, you always say, what's in your wallet? You better ask what's in that bill, man. That's the bottom line. So we're going to get into wrap up, because it's about that time. 9:30 went a little over, so I got to thank Brother D. Williams for allowing us to go a little over. But don't forget, man, coming up first Saturday right now, we're scheduled Terror Cafe. We're going to do a little political meet and greet, town hall meeting. So you want to come on out, man, with the millennials. I'll be there. It'll be in the numbers, but it'll be a real one. It ain't going to be like that fake one they had at Coppin last week. With Reverend Yeary sitting up there, man, looking real leery. You know what I mean?
So that's official?
Yeah, official.
Is it confirmed?
First Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to be there at Terror Cafe. So we'll work out all the details. And small donation, man, just to go toward the show, help keep the show coming. But we'll be there at Terror Cafe, man, going from 6 to 9. So you don't want to miss it. We'll be all the way live. So with that, we're going to begin to wrap up the show. So we'll podcast the show, Facebook page on RadioOnFire, YouTube channel, RadioOnFire, and on my Facebook page, State of the City. So don't forget to support State of the City. Cash App, $SOTC Muhammad, and to support RadioOnFire, Radio on Fire, all one word. So, oh, don't forget Saturday is the major Baltimore Marathon. If you don't get out, you won't get out. I'm telling you now, you better get up and get out early, okay? If you don't get out, if you east, you won't be able to get west. If you west, it's going to be a mess. You won't be able to get east.
That
if
is
you're
facts.
north, you won't be able to get south. If you're south, you won't be able to get north. Don't say I did not tell you, okay? I do a radio show at 12 o'clock. You know what time I leave the house for my 12 o'clock show in Glen Burnie? I leave the house at 5:30. That way I'm not even tired. Because they start cutting off the streets around 6 o'clock, 6:30. If you don't get out, you won't get out. So you got a hair appointment, I'm telling you now. Got a doctor's appointment, you got dialysis, whatever you got. You going to do some laundry. You better do it the night before. But if you don't get out, you won't get out. And ain't going to be no benevolent police officer talking about I'm going to slow the traffic up so you can get past. That ain't happening. All right?
Not till the end.
What's that?
Not till the end.
Not till the end. The only thing you're going to have is some
yeah.
frustration and some outrage, and you'll be enraged because you're going to mess up your Saturday. So you got any special occasions going on, family reunions, weddings, I'm telling you now, you better reschedule it. All right? As the old folks say, you better let a hint to the wise be sufficient. So I've been your host, Brother Muhammad. We're going to wrap up, get up out of here. And again, we'll be back here next Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So again, in the meantime, in between time, God bless. Let's continue to clean up all this mess in the city. And long live the spirit of the Million Man March. And long live the Dawson family inside of Baltimore City. Till next Wednesday at 7. And this Saturday, we're live on WFBR 1590. I've been your host, Brother Muhammad.